Hello, sweet tooths. Today we're going to make a moist chocolate cake. Very easy to make, and I'm sure it's gonna delight more than one of you. We'll prepare a super moist sponge cake with 240 grams of flour and 15 grams of baking powder, 75 grams of cocoa powder, 5 grams of baking soda, 6 ounces cocoa powder, 0.17, 6 ounces baking soda, 6 ounces white sugar. Also, 220 grams of inverted sugar or honey. Are either of those okay for you? 210 milliliters of milk and the same amount of oil, plus 3 large eggs. And we'll prepare a chocolate cream or ganache with 500 grams of chocolate and another 500 grams of cream. If you want, you can also add a teaspoon of inverted sugar. The cake mixture is very simple. You just have to put the flour, sugar, and baking powder in a large bowl. Here we also have the baking soda, of course, the cocoa powder, and let me remind you that it's pure cocoa powder. None of those breakfast mixes with sugar. Well, once we've added all the ingredients, we're gonna stir it a few times until we have a uniformly colored powder. If you follow my method, it's nearly superior. You look for an even bigger container because it seems to me that the one I picked wasn't handy enough. Well, I've transferred it to this slightly larger container and I'm adding the milk, also the inverted sugar, which if you don't know how to make it and you don't have anywhere to buy it, a video on Golosolandia explains how to make it easily. If not, you can simply use honey. Once we add it, you see, we take the same whisk and start stirring until it turns into a smooth cream. It's very simple. On the other hand, we're gonna take the eggs and add the oil, then we're gonna beat this well to create a completely foamy cream. You can use a fork, a whisk, or if you have one handy, an electric whisk like this. That way you'll be done in a minute. Look, we've already beaten everything, so it's perfect, and now comes today's trick. You just have to do this. We place the 2 bowls with the 2 creams next to each other and start whipping the chocolate cream. See? Now we slowly add the egg and oil cream in a thin stream. As it comes together little by little, it will blend perfectly and very quickly. We practically have it already, just a little more and it's ready. Once it's perfectly mixed, let's prepare the mold. In my case, I took one that's 23 centimeters in diameter. What I do is spread butter well on it, both on the bottom and the sides. And to this, we're going to add a little flour, what they technically call it. Coat the mold. We put a little flour inside and shake it until it gets a bit white. Over the entire surface, both the walls and the sides. Once it's well coated, what we do is add the cream inside. And thanks to this process, it will come out of the mold perfectly. Come on, with the help of a spatula, we make use of every last drop of flavor. Come on, put it all in. We preheat the oven to 160 degrees and put it in. And we'll bake it until, when we poke it with a toothpick, it comes out clean. There we have it. In my case, it took 50 minutes, but that varies quite a bit depending on the mold you use and the oven. The thing is, you stick a toothpick in, and if it comes out clean, it's ready. Now we take the liquid cream, and if you want, like I do, you can add a splash of vanilla essence. This is totally optional, and also a teaspoon of inverted sugar, which is also optional, but it gives it a bit of shine. Now we also add the chocolate and take it to a double boiler. That is, you place the saucepan inside another one with boiling water. Stir occasionally until you have a completely smooth and shiny chocolate mixture. Afterwards, we're going to set aside about a quarter of that in the fridge so it can start to harden. Meanwhile, we're going to proceed with the assembly. What we're going to do is cut the cake into 2 equal layers. You can do it with a knife, with one of these gadgets, or with the dental floss trick I showed you in other videos. Then, with the help of a bread knife, we're going to cut off this little dome that always forms on cakes. Perfect, so it ends up more or less flat. But don't throw it away because we're going to use it for decoration. And we separate these two juicy sponge cake layers. Even though this sponge cake is very moist, I recommend giving it this touch. While the chocolate is still very hot, we moisten it a bit on top. We're going to do this on both layers of sponge cake, and that's going to give it an extra touch of flavor. That's right, I pour some of the chocolate while it's still nice and hot, and with the back of a spoon, I spread it so that all the sponge cake gets nicely soaked. First with one of the layers, and then with the other. I've got it right here. Come on, let's take the other one and do the same thing. A little drizzle of the chocolate, nice and warm. I'm going to do it by spoonfuls so I don't spill anything, and then we'll spread it out evenly. This process, which might seem silly, is actually very simple, and it's the way to soak it with a strong chocolate flavor. Now I take that part of the chocolate ganache cream that we had prepared, and I told you I was keeping in the fridge so it would start to harden. And we're going to place it here on the disc, which is the base of our cake. Since it's denser, it'll be easy to spread and we'll get a slightly thick layer. We spread it out to have an even layer on top. Now we'll cover it with the other sponge cake. There we have it. Perfect. As you can see, the top part of the cake is facing down, and the base of my cake is going to be the top of our cake. The reason is that it's always going to be flatter, and that way we'll have a prettier cake. Now I put everything on a rack, and I'm going to give it a chocolate coating. Look at how this looks. Oh my, this is delicious. Once it's spread all over the surface, we give it a few taps like this to get rid of some of the bubbles. And so the chocolate settles nicely. Next, we're going to coat the sides with chocolate or ganache, or whatever you want to call this cream. With the help of a spoon, it's very simple, see? You just let it drip, painting the sides spoonful by spoonful, and soon you'll have the whole cake ready. Come on, let's keep covering the sides and we'll finish easily. Now that I have it completely covered in chocolate, I'll move it aside a bit to show you what's underneath. I've placed a silicone mat, but would parchment paper also work for you? And the whole point of this is precisely to make use of the chocolate that has been poured. I add it back to the saucepan. We put it away again along with the leftover, so we can use it another time. In the end, cooking at home has its advantages, and you end up with delicious leftovers that you can use for other things. Also, if you have any problems, or if there's a spot with not enough chocolate, you can always give it another layer. Very good. Afterwards, we're going to decorate, and for that, as you saw, I took those pieces of cake that we had left over. The little hump that we cut off a while ago with the knife, and I chopped it up well. Now I'm going to use it to give our cake a bit of texture. I just placed these little pieces of sponge cake on top, making a little circle, and now I'm going to do the same thing, as you can see on the sides. Since it's covered with cream that's still a bit warm, you can see that just by pressing a little, these cake crumbs stick to it and you get a cake as spectacular as this one. Don't tell me you don't want a piece? Do you want to see the inside? So juicy, so juicy. Look, it looks amazing. Oh my goodness. Today, the moist chocolate cake you've been dreaming of. Enjoy it. I just want to remind you to subscribe because every Wednesday and Saturday, you'll get a new sweet recipe. And if you like the video, you can give me a like and share it on your social networks. Also, you can comment or ask me anything you want in the comments down below.